So good morning, and thanks for joining us for Coffee and Real Estate Scoop with Stacy. We are excited to have our guest today, Dawn from Pixologie Digital Solutions, and she's a friend and a neighbor as well. And I've been meaning to learn more about her business, and I'm so excited that she's going to be here today talking with us about what she does. Welcome, Dawn.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, I've been meaning to talk with you more and find out more about your business and all the solutions that you have to offer. So I wanted to start off with talking about what is Pixologie Digital Solutions and how did you start your business?
Well, we are a business that takes people's photos, videotapes, audio cassettes, video reel-to-reel, any sort of family memories or even businesses. We've scanned, large number of papers from people from analog into a digital format so that you can share it and you can preserve it from degrading any further. And you can share it with all of your family members. You can make like one copy of things and give it to all of your grandchildren or your siblings or whatever, so the family memories are not just trapped in one area or on a device that you can no longer even watch.
Right. I think we all have something like that in a box somewhere,
And you know that it's important, but like the tape you can't even watch anymore. The reel to reel, you can't even see it. So
Right.
it's important, but you don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And we started because I'm sort of the family curator of all these items. I'm a family genealogist. I've made my family tree, and so all of the family photos and all of those.
I'm having trouble hearing you all of a sudden.
Okay, you just came back. Now I got
Okay.
audio.
There
Okay.
it is. I didn't hear that last part.
Right. So anyway, I was the filter for all of the family things that came in, and it was overwhelming, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I started researching what to do and how to do it properly. And I found a company called Pixologie, and while it's not a franchise, they sort of taught me how to deal with all of these things, and they're like a leader in this sort of world. There's not a lot of us out there. We technically refer to ourselves as photo organizers, but it's really more digitizing and organizing. It's gathering all these things together and making them preserved and available for future people. And my husband, he was in the military, and when he retired, it was sort of something that I thought I could do because he sort of followed him around. He helps with the books. My daughter she works in sales on, digital sales for Hamilton Beach. So she can help me with our graphics and our website and all of those kind of things. And my youngest son, Jeffrey, he has a degree in cybersecurity, and he's getting a degrry in systems for businesses. Somehow, I'm not exactly sure the term of the other degree. Well, it's like 5 words, and I don't.
That's okay.
Anyway, that's why we keep him around. And he's also a tinkerer, and he takes apart all of our old devices and refurbishes them so we can make sure that we get all of the the data off of the old devices and into like all the old tapes and audio and all this stuff. So he's indispensable. And my husband, who he does our books. He does the taxes, and he does all of the paperwork stuff. So I have a really good team behind me.
Awesome.
But we started it to help our family stuff, and I realized soon that everybody has this problem. It's a problem of a new generation, and I mean we deal with people who have tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of digital photos too. We help them organize those too, because that's the next problem.
Right. I understand. And many times that's one of the things that I guess cripples people when they're trying to move, because they have all these things and they don't know what to do with them, and they're not sure if they should just throw it out or if there's something to do. So I'm excited to have a resource to make sure that people know that there is something that they can do to help preserve their memory. So if you are moving, what do you suggest people do to protect their photos if they're just moving and they have a bunch of stuff? What should they do?
First of all, moving is a really good time to start gathering all of those things together, because you can take them out of all the different places in your house and put them in a consolidated place and have someone like me help you sort through this, because it's all in one place. First of all, when you're dealing with these kind of things, you want to think about the climate that they're being put at. You want to make sure that they're in a very as safe a place as you can have them. You want nothing that's hot, nothing that's humid. So climate controlled, you know, if you're going to put them in a storage place, it has to be someplace climate controlled. You want to make sure that you're not putting it inside of a pod, like sitting in your driveway where the sun is beating on it, because that will degrade the old analog type of, you know, things, your videotapes, your audio tapes, even your photos, just the heat. You want to make sure that you have them all consolidated and you have them someplace, and you want to move them in as safe a manner as possible. If you can gather all of your things and move them yourself, that's the best. If you're moving, it's also a really good idea to, like I said, gather it together and have someone digitize it, have someone scan all of your photos and scan, you know, your videotapes and things like that, so you can make multiple copies of it. Because my husband was in the military for almost 30 years, and I can't tell you how many family members that lost their entire shipment just because it just disappeared. I mean, and those kind of things you can't get back. So it's really helpful if you have multiple copies. Even if you lose the physical photo, if you have it scanned, you can still have the image. And that's a really important thing.
Right, absolutely. So if you are organizing them, I mean, should you put them together like in sleeves, or, you know, and what do you put them in? I mean, if you just pile them in a box, they'll like all start sticking together. Like I've had that before, where then it sticks and then you can't read what someone wrote on the back, and, you know, that type of thing.
That's kind of comes from the humidity. That's why you have to make sure you keep the humidity and heat low, and then they don't stick together. For organizing purposes, it's really not terribly important, because that's meant to be a real short-term kind of a thing. So if you're looking for archival safe, if you're going to keep them in those things for longer than, you know, just a few months or whatever, you want to look for something that's archivally safe. And you can get boxes that you can store things in. The organizing process, it really comes down to, I prefer to do it chronologically. Some people do it by event, but to me that doesn't work in my brain. It all has to be in a nice neat line. So, but you start with, you know, decades. You start with, you know, the 1930s or the 1940s, and you have you know, shoebox with each decade in it, and you just go through your house and you gather it up and you pile it into the 1960s fold, you know, binder or box or whatever device you're putting them in. It really, that storage, that organizing part is really about gathering and starting the sort. And then after you've had them all sorted from all over your house and out of your china cabinet and your wallet and the pictures off of your walls, and once you have all, you know, everything gathered together, you put them all in the decades, and then you can take one box, you know, one 1980s box, and then maybe go by year, and you try and get them down to as far as you can. But some people you can't. And because I'm a genealogist, I also have gone through and sorted by, say, my mother's father's side of the family.
Right.
So you can, you know, you have the decades of, you know, like maybe when your parents got married to current, and then maybe the generations beyond that from before. So you have all of, you know, in my family, it would be all of the Beckers would be on one, you know, in one box, and all of the Lubners would be in another box, and so on and so forth. But each, you know, that way you can, they make sense to your head. They make sense to, you know, how you want to use them and share them. Like you would maybe want to have a thumb drive of all of your scanned photos with your, you know, your maternal side of the family, you know, your mom's side, and give that to all of your cousins. So you want to organize them to the, you know, where you could use them. I also use a company called forever.com, and it's an online cloud service, and I've been using it a lot. It stores all of your photos in the full size instead of shrinking them.
No?
So you could make prints out of them. And it also, they don't sell any of your information, and it's not mined for anything.
Okay.
But anyway, so, and on there you can tag them and write little notes about them and organize them by year, and you can put them in different folders and keep them all and make them super accessible from anywhere, from a device on your phone to you're visiting your cousin and you want to show them a picture of you two together when you were having a birthday party or whatever. It's, it makes it really super easy. The organizing part is sort of tedious, but it's also the best part because then you can use them.
Right. So if somebody just has a box and they don't have time to do all that sorting, is that something that you do as well? Like,
we can do that. We would get like information, like birth dates, so we know the ages of people, so we can organize them. Usually they'll give us a photo of that person at different stages, so we can go through and we can sort of chronologically put them in order.
Right.
Yes, that is something that's.
Well, the old pictures had like the date on the side, so that's a hint, right? And now today people print and we don't really know when it was. And even some of the other ones from when I was young did print something on the back that would, but I think that's when it got developed, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't necessarily when it was taken. So you might have had film in your camera for a year and it might really be like 73 when, you developed it in 74.
Right. My mother passed away a few months ago, so I've been going through a lot of personal photos, and yeah, the pictures from the 60s, they would have like the month and the year on there, but that was when it was developed. So you would find Christmas, and it would say, June of whatever. So yeah, so July, whenever the roll got emptied and got taken to the pharmacy to get it developed. But.
Right. Yes. And I remember the little moto photo booths and stuff. We would take it there, and just such a different time now that we all have iPhones, right, or whatever. Your digital, your mobile phone. But anyway, so what about the tapes and the film and the slides and those types of things? They're a whole nother beast, right? So
they are a very different thing. The videotapes. People will come with a bag and they'll have 5 different types of videotapes. And that was because they had 5 different video cameras over a span of time. And pretty much none of them can they watch anymore. They're all trapped. They're, all these memories. So they bring me these bags, and it really, we have the capability of digitizing pretty much any of those tapes. We have equipment and we've gathered equipment, and we can do any of them. They range in how long they are. The one thing that I want to, make sure that people realize is that they were really meant to last about 10 years.
Wow.
So they're degrading, and we can get something off of almost every one. Sometimes the camera was wonky and they were, filmed badly or whatever, but we can make whatever it is as good as possible so you can save that memory. The reel-to-reel equipment, we purchased some equipment more recently because we couldn't find anyone local that would do it, because that's really important to us to make sure that things are kept here and kept safe so it's not being mailed. And we do have mail-in clients also, but we wanted to make sure that we were doing it to our standard perfectly, the way that that it should be done. And if you send it off somewhere, you're never sure.
Right.
So we bought the equipment that they use in Hollywood to save old film, and we are using that. It scans each individual photo cell on the film, instead of like some places will take an old camera or video player and do it on the wall and just record that, which that's not really the way to do it.
Right. Right. Well, for instance, people may have recorded, their great grandparents' wedding or something like that, and there's just bits and pieces. So how does it work? Does it have gaps where the film wasn't working well, or do you splice it together to make it look like a continuous thing, or?
Usually we take off the beginning and the end of it.
Okay.
If there's a huge long span in there where somebody was recording the floor or something like that, we would splice that out as we were doing it. You get the file back on a thumb drive or an external hard drive if you have a lot of media that you want to save, or some people have an external hard drive that they put all of their photos and all of their videos on, and that's their hub. But we give it back to you in an MP4 file for the videos, and we also do audio reel-to-reel. We do audio cassette tapes, those little tiny ones also that were in, that got the last message from somebody off of an answering machine and stuff like that. So we do, you know, and the audio anyway comes out in an MP3 file, so you can listen to them pretty much anywhere. The older things like the reel-to-reels will also give you like a less lossy file, an MOV, or, you know, I mean, a FLAC, some other file that is a less lossy, because some of like the MP3s and MP4s, I'm getting technical, sorry.
Okay.
They are, they're easier to watch, and they're a little bit compressed so that you can put them on more devices, but that also means that you're compressing some of the data. That's one of the reasons why when you have like a VHS tape done, we really discourage people from putting it onto like a DVD. DVDs are old format already. It's something that's going out, and it's very, very compressed, like 50% compressed in order to put it onto a DVD. So you're losing 50% of the data. So it won't be, the sound won't be as good, the video won't be as good. And once you're doing that, if that's your archiving, that's what you have forever instead of holding all of it, if that makes sense.
Hey, Dawn, don't DVDs have a end of life as well? Like they're limited for a certain amount of time?
There are some new DVDs that they're called millennial DVDs, where they're made to last 100 years. But then again, you have the same problem of, is this DVD, are you going to have a player for this millennial DVD in 100 years?
Probably not, right?
Somebody
100 years from now is going to be hiring somebody like you to convert that to the latest format, right?
And we just try to not even go there. We try to keep it away from the DVDs, and there are clients that want them just because they have the player, that's what they're used to, and we will give them that, but we always insist that they also take a digital file on a flash drive or onto their external hard drive, because I don't want to, our goal is to help people not to like create another problem for the next generation.
Absolutely.
That's a great aspiration.
That's the goal.
Stacy, I have a question. So clearly people are going to be bringing their photographs, as you mentioned, audio files, their tapes of different formats, sometimes DVDs or thumb drives. Stacy brought something up about how many generations would use the back of the photo or the sleeve of the tape as like the cataloging of what this was. This was Ed when he was 6, and was Emily when she was 26 or whatever, so that they could actually kind of have that historical reference. Do you preserve that along with the photo, or
when we do photos, we will scan the front and the back if there's something written on the back. Some of them have that, some of them don't. Usually the tapes, we usually just name the files, whatever is written on there. We don't necessarily take a photo of that. If someone asked to do that, I wouldn't object to it, but usually we just name the files. People will give us, 20 VHS tapes, and we will name them whatever it says on there. And that also brings up a really good point. When you're putting things into the digital format, you want to try and put them by the date, and you do year, month, day. That way it all lines up chronologically in your computer. So if you can digitize 20 videotapes, and then you put in 1996, 12, 24, and then you do the next year, and so all of your videotapes will be in chronological order, so you can watch yourself grow up by clicking the next one. You can go from hair to no hair, right?
Right. Now, so, and then what's the method that you typically deliver the content back to the customer?
Quite often, people will purchase flash drives or external hard drives on Amazon and have them delivered to our home, to our home studio. and they'll give us 5 flash drives, and we'll make 5 copies for them, and so they can pass them out to their different family member. Yep, it makes it super, super easy. I mean, if we had more than 5 or 10, we might charge a nominal fee for doing it just because it takes time, but like up to 5, we do 5 at no charge. Just make 5 copies. If you send me 5 flash drives, then I'll put all of your data on those 5 flash drives.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even know this, but how much can one hold? I mean, would you need like 2 per person if you're giving it to like 4 people or whatever? So you need 8?
It would really depend on how much data you had. There are really large flash drives now. My only problem with like flash drives is that they're small and they're easy to lose. So I encourage people to have a couple of them, and I always put a little tag on it that says what it is. It's just a little circle, you know, labeling tag, and I write the last name on it and, you know, videotapes, just so that if somebody throws it in their desk, they know what it is. Because I mean, I don't know about, I can open up a drawer here and, you know, show you 5 flash drives and I have no idea what's on them. At least with my little tag, they can tell.
Right, or you might mistakenly put something else on over top, and that there goes all the work.
Yep, exactly.
Right. Oh, well, so how much does this cost? What should people be planning for? Is it per, you know, box or hourly or project based?
It completely depends on what you're doing. Videotapes start at $30 a videotape. If you bring me 5 or more, we have a bulk rate of $25 a tape. If you bring me audio cassettes, you know, those are, I think, $15. You can look on our website. It really depends on what you're doing. A photo, like the newer photos are like 39 cents a photo. If you have a flatbed scan, like those old cardstock photos, I have bees outside my window. Anyway, the ones that I have to flatbed scan, or there's some that are older and they're flexible, but they're brittle, so those I flatbed scan. So it depends on what you're doing. I also do hourly things, such as like photo restoration, an old photo that was really damaged, that has tears or pieces missing, or it's discolored terribly, and I have to go in and pixel by pixel, you know, do artwork and fix it for you. That's $85 an hour. But when you're doing your scanning of your regular photos, I do color correction and I crop them and I make them look as pretty as I can, and that's included in the scan.
Okay.
So it really depends on what you're doing, but I have some, like the pricing on my website, if give that to people, but it's really, really dependent on what you're doing. And like I said, we do have bulk rates, and we try to work with people as much as we can. Reel-to-reel film, like the 8mm film, is 50 cents a foot, and a 3-inch reel is about 50 feet, so it's approximately $25 to get one done. And those are usually extremely fun because they're like 40s, 50s, 60s, sometimes early 70s, and the cars and the clothes, and because it was usually, you know, like Easter Sunday, and the moms had the bouffant hairdo and the whole loop. You know, it was really fun. But yeah, it really depends on what you're asking.
So what if you're not ready to get them digitized, but you just want to organize? Like I see a lot in the you know, scrapbooking section, that type of thing. They're talking about make sure you have acid free and these things. What can you tell us about that?
I do a free 1-hour consultation, and I'll give you some, you know, like some tips on how to do it. You can go on our website. There's in the Learning Center on the top, there's a whole bunch of like articles that I've written and things about all sorts of different aspects about this. You email me, I'd be happy to answer any question, because like really my goal, my whole purpose for doing this is to help families preserve their memories, and I'm happy to share my knowledge with anyone if they just ask.
Right. Aw, that's so nice. Okay, well, great. Well, we'll make sure that we put all your information up when we repost our recording today. But do you want to share right now maybe how to get in touch with you, your website, where you would email, that type of thing?
Our website is pixdsinc.com, just like the initials, and incorporated. And you can, you know, on the website, there's a place where you can click for a free consultation. You can write me a little message and I'll email you back immediately. And we can go from there. If there's anything I can do to help, or help people with moving, I mean, there's like, you want to make sure that your photos are treated like art.
Mm-hmm.
Put into the cardboard boxes with the little corners on and all. I mean, you want to make sure that when you're moving, that your things are really kept, treated as something's precious as it really is. So.
Right. So one more question I just thought of. So do you work on one project at a time so you don't get like the families mixed up like with pictures? And then what's the backlog? Like how long would it take if we called you, say, this next week? I mean, are you backed up like a month, or how far back?
We try to get things done within like a couple weeks, like 2-3 weeks. Sometimes it takes longer if you bring me a large video project. I mean, if a videotape is 2 hours, it might take us 3 hours in order to do that. And we're not like sitting there staring at it the whole time, but it has to go through the processing. We scan the videotapes, and then we put them through a process that de-interlaces them so that they look good on new digital screens, because they were meshed together in the old days, and we make them, the images separate, so it looks better. So anyway, it just takes some time. Some things are really quick. Like right now, I don't have any slide projects. I finished the last one yesterday. I was working on someone's slides, and so it really depends on what I'm doing, because we do everything to our standard, which isn't necessarily the fastest.
Correct.
We want to make sure it's right.
Absolutely.
And we do it. We're a company that makes sure that what we do, our customer service is the best, because if anybody has ever had a problem, all they have to do is ask, and I will completely fix it. That's just our goal, again, is to make sure that families have their stuff preserved in the best possible way for future generations. So
that's wonderful. How often do you have something like a film or something that just isn't salvageable anymore? I mean, does that happen and you have disappointment there?
It does happen. And right now we have some videotapes. Someone brought us a whole bunch of them, and they had the same tape in the camera for a long period of time. Like they filmed, and then they would stop, and they'd film, and they'd stop. So the film, the actual cassette was in there for a really long time, and they must have bumped the camera. So the video part of it, the beginning is great, and then it gets a little wonky, and we will save whatever it is possible. Even if it's a little bit wonky, we're going to save it, because that's all you have. And sometimes it is a slight disappointment. I mean, my wedding video turned, it lost some color, so it's tannish because it was from the 1980s. It just, some things you can't, but that's why you want to do it as soon as possible so that you have the best possible outcome.
The longer you let it sit on that media that's degrading, the worse condition it's going to be in. And
absolutely. And the photo paper and the photo ink, it was not stable. I mean, you look at some photos and they'll be pink. That's because all the blues and greens have faded out of them. And with some programs, I can make them look, maybe not 100% like they did originally, but 90%. I mean, you can make them look really good.
Right.
So it's important, so that you want to capture these things before it's all lost.
Really,
it's like Back to the Future, when he's holding up the photo and he's fading away. That's pretty much what happens. You just fade away.
Right.
I mean, I think back, Dawn, I've got video I took of our house while it was being built, and it's on these tiny little tapes, and it's like, I don't really need to look at it until someday that I need to look at it. And so I always am like worried that it's going to degrade into nothing. So
yeah, it'll discolor. It turns strange. It depends on the the ink that they used and all sorts of things. It's really interesting how that's the whole science part of it.
Right. Now, if a picture faded, if a picture faded, for example, and like you were talking about, started to turn pink, how is there a scientific way to know what the color was originally, instead of just saying, well, she probably was wearing a black dress or whatever?
I have some like software that does that. It knows how things maybe faded, like different papers and how it faded and stuff like that. Yeah, it does it. It's a pretty good, it's not like, none of it is 100% perfect, because even when you take a picture, it's not necessarily the right color just because of the lighting or whatever. Right. So as we've all found out with that weird dress.
Right. So anyway, well, I appreciate you so much for being here today and teaching us some things It was awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and post this today and put all your information, your website, so people can get in touch with you and find out how they can go ahead and preserve their memories.
Any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today, Dawn. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.